So for the second match that I choose to watch for day one, Ryan Yu against Spencer. Now, Ryan Yu is known to be like the best, one of the best, or in my opinion, the best Master Duel player around. But now he's challenging himself in the TCG. We can see Spencer starting with Mitsurugi Aramasa that gets Abakiri that gets Saji into rotation, Saji effecting the graveyard, and once again we see the Ash Blossom on Saji. Now, for people that studied the format, this was the choke point. This was always the choke point. For people that did not put enough effort to study, to prepare themselves, they were gonna Ash Abakiri.
Yeah, and this shows Ryan put in a lot of work because he didn't even pick up his hand when his opponent activated a card until he went Saji Graveyard Effect. So he knew exactly which card he was going to stop when he saw Ash Blossom in his hand.
Like, it's not as intuitive. Like people might say, yes, okay, you can do that, but it's not as intuitive as everyone says. Now we see Spencer having the counter player with prayers that can tribute the Abakiri. And as we were talking about before, this is basically the way in which this deck can play around the Ash Blossom on Saji, because he gets everything into rotation. He adds a ritual spell that's gonna be Murakumo, and then the Abakiri is gonna add the ritual spell Mitsurugi Ritual. Now, here we got a rotation. For Spencer that's playing Finsmith Mitsurugi, I do not understand the appeal from this deck. I think it was not a good pick in my opinion. I tested it, and I will explain you my issue with this deck, and then you will tell me if you agree or if you have another take on it, Ruben. When I was testing this deck, I was like, okay, I still need to bridge those two engines. I don't think it makes sense to play a deck that does not bridge into each other. I don't think it makes sense to splash two engines into a deck that doesn't bridge. Like, the thing is that Rizel was playing Finsmith because any level 4 would bridge into Rizel, right? Because if I open Engraver plus level 4, I can easily bridge into Rizel. And that's fine, because I was playing like Chammis, and worst case, I had to play Finsmith Control, but most of the time you were always opening a level 4, and you would be able to bridge into Rizel, because the Rizel engine doesn't really need a normal summon in order to establish a board or in order to extend your board, right? The issue that I have with this deck is that your level 4, right, are actually your starting play most of the time with the Finsmith, and also the deck does not have enough space to fit like full Finsmith, full Mitsurugi. I don't think the deck has that much of a space. And another thing, like another issue that I have with this deck is the fact that even though you might be able to justify the presence of Finsmith because there are some rotation in which like you can still make Feral Imps, blah blah blah, my main issue was the amount of bricks that you need to splash into this deck. Because yes, Mitsurugi has a lot of cards that are required to be played in the pure variant, that are also bricks played alone, and most of the cards are 1.5. Finsmith is a one card combo deck that plays one brick in engine as Paradise. Now, when you like, that's why I felt like this was a worst pure Finsmith, because they tried to do Finsmith stuff, but failing in my opinion. Because the core of the deck then would be Mitsurugi. You cannot really build around Finsmith in a deck that's Mitsurugi, because the Mitsurugi deck has a lot of engine requirements. So you will have to actually cut down a lot the number of Finsmith in your main deck, and increase of a substantial number the counter cards of the card count of Mitsurugi, the card count of Mitsurugi, and it felt like just like a worst pure Finsmith with less flex spots and still needs board presence in order to push into boards.
Yeah, I have very similar opinions on it. I talked with a couple of friends that actually ended up playing the deck. I played against it once in the tournament. You touched on the 2 points that I personally agree with the most. Having a deck with multiple engines that can't go forwards and backwards is the way I like to call it. And an example I'll use right now is Charlie's Mitsurugi Rizel deck, where your Mitsu cards get you to Raizio cards and Raizio cards get you to Mitsu cards. In my opinion, that is a balanced, perfect, quote-unquote,
Yeah.
deck in regards to engines working well together and being fluid. The Fiendsmith Raizio deck is a peg down because it doesn't go one-to-one Fiendsmith into Raizio and Raizio into Fiendsmith, but there are certain card combinations that allow you to do it, which is why the deck was so successful.
Yeah.
But the second point you brought up was the biggest one for me, because we have seen a lot of decks that have engines that just work standalone completely and try to complement each other by just being really strong, powerful, one-off engines. The fact that you have to play so many awkward cards in the Mitsu deck, like Futsu is an awkward card, for example.
Yeah, Mirror
Sanji
is another awkward card. Sagi is another
Mirror is
awkward card.
awkward. Amino is awkward. The ritual spell is awkward. A Habakiri is awkward. Or not Habakiri, the level 4, the dark one, the one that adds back
Yeah,
in
the
graveyard.
break.
So like the trap card is a brick, you know?
Yeah.
So you start getting all these cards that when you put them in combination with like Paradise, or sometimes a hand where you have Sanji and Lurie, or Sanji and Lacrima, you're like, wow, I'm playing down a card. And then Lurie and Lacrima aren't supposed to be bricks. So now imagine you have Sanji plus one of those two, and then you have an actual brick, like
while in the other case, Raizil and Fiendsmith would actually complement each other, because yes, I can still normal summon Lacrima, but then I can special X, right? And then in your case, you would be, okay, so I can normal summon Lacrima and then I can use Abakiri. Yeah, but Raizil could have done it more often, because they had 3 Bonfire, 3 X, you know, like there were so many ways to extend from that position. And so many, like so many extenders. You don't have the same amount of extenders, or another thing, right? You need board presence in this deck, because if your Abakiri gets ashed, then now suddenly you don't have board presence, right? If I special summon X and my opponent ashes my X, who cares? I have 2 level 4 on the board.
That's the hardest part about hand trapping the Raizio cards, is after you hand trap the second one, every hand trap you use, you need a second one to beat it. Because let's just say you stop X, then they drop Sword, and you stop Sword. Now you need to stop Duo. So their 2 cards force 3 disruptions, and that's why those cards become so powerful in combination.
Yeah, because no entrap right now can deal with bodies. I think like if you have extension that's also body presence that allow you to a third line, then that's when we're talking about meta.
Yeah, it's very similar to how backup becomes such an insane extender in the Malice deck, because not only does it give you a splash line.
Now we see basically the entire rotation from Spencer. We notice that he added the trap, he has Futsu Murakumo on the board, but now those 2 level 4 that he has, there are not a lot of rank 4s that he can make. If you don't play Duo Drive, if you don't play like the Raizil engine, your rank 4 pool is quite restricted. There are only a couple of options. We're talking about an Evil Swarm, the Evil Swarm that acts like a Book of Moon every time your opponent special summons a monster, but it's also a Wen effect that loses timing if you special summon in Chain Link 2. And then we have still like the Imps, but he already went in Mitsurugi rotation, so that doesn't make any sense. We have a Baguska, but also doesn't make a lot of sense because he is in Mitsurugi rotation, and you don't really want to negate your Murakumo. So the only available option at this point, in order to utilize your level 4s, is to use Fiendsmith. And that's why I think here, after that, he's gonna go into Moon, and we see at this point Ryan deciding to deal with the board with an Nibiru. If I am Spencer, I'm still like using Murakumo and let my opponent discard the Nibiru.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to give my opponent a body. I mean, I'm not sure if Spencer knows what Ryan's playing, but if you're aware that he's on the Malice deck, giving them an extra body makes the game so much easier for them. Especially if they just normal summon a Malice name out of their hand, it just allows you to play through 2 hand traps right off the bat.
This play actually gave Spencer the missing prayers, searched from Futsu.
And then the Futsu coming back gives him ability to use the trap card immediately if he has to, but also get a bunch of follow-up once Ryan starts playing.
Yeah, Spencer Field was pretty good through Ash Nibiru. like ending on a Futsu prayer set, the Mitsurugi trap set. I think it's like insanely good. It's insanely good.
Yeah, like if you're imagining another Fiendsmith combination deck, if your opponent had Ashnib, that probably deals with your Fiendsmith cards and your regular engine. Well, when it looked like it just happened to Spencer, it dealt with the Moon of the Closed Heaven, and that was literally it. So those are one of the positives I think you can get from playing a deck like Mitsu Fiendsmith, but like we were talking about, there are also other negatives that can make it a lot worse.
Okay,
Now
so
this will be interesting.
if you are Spencer, would you stop this on summon or would you stop this on effect after your opponent set one card? Now,
So it's weird, and especially me now having more knowledge on Ryan's deck, it makes it even harder for me to make that choice because him setting a card to his back row
yeah,
will mean one of two things.
yeah,
There you go. It's either MTP,
yeah.
and me knowing Ryan's deck list, knowing he only plays one card that could work off that, I probably would have risked it. But there's also the fact that you could have just cleared both of the bodies.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't think you actually clear because the only way that Ryan can play through a blow up, right, is to set up double cybers on the board because double cybers can go into wicked.
Into Cyber's Wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is one of the ways that I think Ryan probably knows he has to win. If he is able to establish the Cyber's Wicked. So the Nibiru body probably won't matter for now. It's interesting he chose to put it in that zone though, in my opinion. Just because he'll be forced to play on his right side of the field, which I think it's easier to play on the left side of your field as a Malice Duelist, but we'll go see if it matters.
It's easier why, actually.
Easier. I feel like all your links, like Splash Mage, and if you play Cerberus, they point to your right. So if you start comboing on your
also
right,
Linguribo too, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you're gonna put yourselves in positions where you're running out of arrows. And this is something that's very, very small, and only comes up when you play infinite amount of games. It's something even smaller than Anima. It's something that will come up once, and if it comes
in
up
every
it'll win or
100
lose.
man. Yeah, no, I feel you. Like I like perfection, to be honest. When you spot those kind of things, I'm super interested because yes, it might come up that one time out of 100 games, but that time that you win that 100 games because of that technical play, you feel like a god.
Yeah, and those are the small things that will take you like from deck to deck, being able to improve, not just with like specific cards, but just like technical play in general.
Yeah. Okay, here we just see like the summon back Chessie, add back Marcher. Ryan still has to commit another Cybers in order to play through this. Otherwise, otherwise he cannot really do that. We see Spencer actually opting to go for Sagi, which I actually like a lot here, going for Sagi instead of just hinting into summoning a Murakumo, because that would make no sense, because the only way that, like, we spotted it, I think, that Ryan is trying to establish double Cybers on the board in order to get a Wicked, but the moment he commits another Cybers on the board, then he commits another effect, which means that he's gonna be able to not really play around the trap, the Mitsurugi trap, when it's gonna come down.
Now the question for Spencer here becomes, if Ryan makes Linguribo, do you think on summon because of a potential SP line? Because you know he does have March Hare in his hand, so if he SPs you, he can then use March Hare to make a Link 3, and then you know he has 4 or 5 other cards.
Okay, but here is the thing. Here is the thing. I know that if he makes a speed there, he cannot play anymore. Like, that is my thing. Because, okay, you make a SP, you target my Futsu, I chain Futsu, summon back another 4, you go Marcher now, you banish another name, you summon the name, and I go quick spell to summon back Murakumo effect. And now I'm trading for even more bodies.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to March Hare banish a new name because you have MTP and Chessie in the graveyard. So your opponent is forced to respond right there, because if you just make a
Sure.
you're able to out a card, so you don't have to commit any other extenders. At this point, Ryan would have 3 backups, a wizard, terraforming, 2 field spells, and Gold Sark as potential extender.
Wait, does backup work? Doesn't work, right?
I guess backup wouldn't work by itself. It would need another card because we don't have a Cyber Side field.
Yeah.
So
I think it's fine.
those are the things that you have to think about, and I feel like Spencer in this position, he has to think about all those possibilities in like a span of maybe 30 seconds before Ryan makes another play. And I've played against Ryan multiple times. I know he's one that thinks very quickly, sees his line very fast.
Yeah,
So if
he's
you give
very
him an
fast.
opportunity for an opening, he'll
This
make
kid
it
is a
immediately.
bot. This kid is a bot. It's actually a bot in a very good sense of the word, like actually AI generated Yu-Gi-Oh player. And in the good sense, not like my body is a machine that turns 3 combos into any Nibiru token. I actually, in a good sense, this guy is like Stockfish, okay?
Yeah, Ryan made my tiniest misplay in top 32 look like the biggest misplay in the world. So take that as you will. There's a reason he's our Master Duel World Champion.
I mean, you are the world champion. Okay, don't let me glaze you right now, but you are also the world champion. Like, you are actually the best current TCG player in the world.
Hey, as long as I don't play like my top 32 feature match, maybe.
And also,
Yeah, see,
I think that I noticed, Ruben, I have to say that I have been dealing with a lot of people, but like, you are so genuine about the game. Like, you don't think too ahead of yourself. Like, you could literally say whatever the fuck you want and everyone will still suck you, but you don't do it. And that's what I respect so much about you.
Well, I learned that from Paulie.
Ah.
He set a great example of how to be a world champion. And honestly, I wouldn't have been able to win, let alone be the person I am, without seeing him do it first.
Damn. That's... Paulie! That's for you, my brother. You need to come back.
We miss you, Paulie.
We miss you,
buddy.
Paulie. Come back, Paulie. It's time to shine again. Come to Pop.
See, this is where I do think Spencer made a slight mistake. If he's blowing up the field right now. He could be trying to protect his purification from the Lingeribo.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's relevant right now. The second he puts up another Cyberse body, like you were saying, to beat the Cyberse Wicked, the blow up will get more value, and you get to take one more card out of Ryan's hand that way. I don't think it's bad.
I think it's a choice, right? Because I don't think, like, the thing is that SP is gonna come. Like, we know that it's gonna come. Ryan is gonna make that SP. He knows that he cannot commit another thing. Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Because it's either that, or if he really gives Ryan the chance and he drops like a backup, the backup could honestly be really good, especially putting a Malice name in the graveyard. It could provide like and not just a double extender into a triple extender if he has a Bestial in his hand, because we know he has March Hare.
So I don't really hate this play from Spence. I think it's fine.
I don't hate it. It just, Ryan played in a way to force his opponent to not pop in the most optimal situation.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, you would expect. And now we see backup, Dormouse, White Rabbit, March Hare, and he has the quick play spell. So Ryan at this point has access to all of his names. And if this March Hare resolves, he's probably just going to go ahead and make a Lingeribo and try and play through the other.
So you play this deck too, right? And I think you tested this deck a lot, because I also saw you were in the same card, you were testing this deck a lot. Any words about the second Lingeribo? Okay. If you don't play the second Lingeribo, you're behind.
You're behind.
Ryan playing into the boards as expected. We see now the...
This play forced out the trap because of the threat of the second Lingeribo right there instantly.
Yeah.
So I think that was the best value Ryan could have gotten for his Dormouse, considering we do know he has White Rabbit in his hand.
Yeah.
So he knows he's playing free at this point. But his opponent doesn't really realize that Ryan has access to everything. As a Malice player, you're probably playing around 2 to 3 cards at this point. You're playing around a Nibiru. You'd be playing around Impulse if it was pure Mitsugear, but since you saw Fiendsmith cards, you don't assume an Impulse. And then he could possibly be holding a card like Ash. But since he Imperm Chessie, I feel like you might Ash Chessie and hold Imperm for something better. And wait for them to link up.
The backup adding the Wizard. And...
yeah. This should probably be games. He hasn't used any Link 2, so like he has access to Lizard and Splash. Lizard won't do anything right now.
Here is the thing. I actually analyzed this game because I was like, there is no way that Ryan actually found the most optimal line. So I rewatched this game multiple times and I tried to find a different approach to the end board, like to the a different approach on how to OTK through this board. But I think Ryan found the only possible one. I don't think there is any other way to do it, and we're gonna talk about it once we're gonna see how Ryan approaches this board.
Do we know the nib token's decently big, right? Because
Yes.
attributed to ritual monster. Okay. So
there are two ways to approach this board. If you want to talk about it, or you want me to talk about it.
Okay, I think I have the way you said it initially made me think of two things. Using Lizard to make the token all the way down to however much attack you need it to be, just so you can swing over that one. And then also making a really big access code, to swing over one of them, and a 5600 cryptor to swing over another body, and that should be able to do enough for game. That's just my thought process right now. Trying to figure out how to get there in the most optimal way with the last cards that Ryan has available, I think is something that I'll probably have to think of a little bit as he continues playing. It's a little different commentating over the top of a game instead of like sitting down and seeing it.
Yeah.
You're thinking about way too many things at once. So
yeah.
See now, but we obviously know what the last two cards of Ryan are. He has the spell, and he also has.
I know it's obviously easier. It's obviously easier from our perspective to analyze, sit there, like sip a drink, take a coffee, and
100%.
Actually like talking through. Obviously, if we see a misplay, and we talk about misplays because we're gonna see some misplays later on during the features, and we're gonna talk about those misplays. It's not to offend. It's not like to act as add on ourselves or to think that we are better than those people. Is to teach the community about like the possibility of different lines and which one in our opinion is the most correct. And that's also why I got you today. I got you here today with me, Ruben, because like you are such like a crazy good player, and also like I love discussing Yu-Gi-Oh, as I think you do. And I was like, you know what? Might as well just talk about Yu-Gi-Oh the entire time, because I don't really enjoy talking myself alone through the lines, but I love talking to other people about Yu-Gi-Oh personally. So
talk about Yu-Gi-Oh all day, every day, and then I'll go to sleep and dream about it. And some people may think it's weird, but it's just like the obsessive nature I think you need to have in the game to be really good at it.
Yeah, we see a splash mage line. Now there is no more Lizardos. Okay, so the thing is that when I was going through this line and I was trying different stuff, yes, there was the Lizardos line. I'm not sure if it was missing one body. The other thing is that if you reach a Lizardos line, and if you reach a situation in which you can access code a ransom, and then you can wizard the switching attack a monster, then you would still have game, because you can access code attack over a Kusanagi in attack that was switched by the wizard in the graveyard, and make it 400, so you would inflict 2500 because ransom would be 29. And then you would attack with access code over the Murakumo that was changed by the Lizardos. But I think Ryan was actually short one body, and I don't think he was able to do that. And he found a very creative line, because then he would say, okay, do you actually need the Lizardos in order to win the game? Can't you just like ransom access code, switch and attack a monster with wizard, switch and attack the Kusanagi with wizard, and then Kusanagi is 400, attack with ransom over Kusanagi 400, and it's 25, and then you can attack access code over Murakumo. The issue is that line inflict only 7000 damage, and Spencer would survive that. And now there is the third approach that Ryan is gonna show us how to do it, and I actually had to reread the ruling. I think I know that this ruling was gonna work like that, but I actually wanted to make sure. Ryan decides to go for a binder, which is like already interesting per se, in my opinion. I think he decided to go for that option because he already used all the names, and he was not gonna get anything from the ransom, and that's why I went for binder. I don't disagree with it. It's good because it gives you two bodies, while the ransom would not give you two bodies anymore, because every name was being used.
You set your MTP in case like everything goes wrong.
Oh, actually, yeah.
Like that's the thing about summoning binder early is in case all else fails and trying to go for game,
Yeah.
you at least have your MTP set to be able to get you into March Hare and back into Engine again.
Yeah.
See, and this is where not playing GWC starts making a lot of these game shots a little harder.
Yeah.
Because if Ryan had GWC in his deck, he would have gotten just an extra body. Yeah, he gets an extra body and he gets to bring back whatever he needs. It fully changes the game.
Here is the thing, right? People were talking about like that, like first of all, talking about the no GWC thingy. It's a thing that was decided like one day before the event, but that's not really the point. But like actually deciding to build an entire deck list or even making a spreadsheet about only playing MTP, that would also change the entire format and would make the deck look a lot worse. Because the entire line that Pac, Ryan, and Gibriel were doing actually loses to one singular ghost bell. You make that shit known. Like imagine selling a spreadsheet with an entire deck that loses to one ghost bell and people not complain. That sounds crazy to me. That sounds crazy.
I think the spreadsheet discussion is it's gotten kind of old. So I'm personally a little kind of done with it. I look at it the same way getting a personal trainer is I'm a performer for my career and I have a trainer. I play Yu-Gi-Oh competitively and Hani's my coach. Take that as you will. I'm good at both of the things I do, and that is because I have someone that helps me when I don't have the time available to allocate everything into it. I don't want to go into much more detail than that about the situation, but it's helpful. That's the best I'll say.
My bad. I'm sorry. Just like, like
you're all good. I understand. I'm just not trying to make a whole...
No, I was just like, like by talking, spiraling down into the conversation, it just came natural to me because like this entire line, like you can see how Ryan was missing the GWC. And there is only one line that actually helps you here. And this is, my opinion, like this was insanely well played. Like here...
Okay, so now we know he has Wizard in his hand, right?
Yeah.
So he has Wizard, and he has one more banish off of access code, so he doesn't have a lot left.
You did not see this game before, right?
No, I didn't watch. The only matches I watched from stream were my own to look over my misplays, honestly.
When I saw this line, I'll be real with you, I got out.
I'm genuinely interested, because I'm trying to see, he's keeping what he drew off a white binder in his hand. I don't think it'll matter the way you were talking about the line. But I'm genuinely curious.
Because now the Wizard in graveyard, he decides to use the Wizard second effect, right? Because you can switch a monster in attack, which is gonna be probably the Sagi. But it's still not game.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I want to try and figure it out before he gets there. Is he...
It's literally the next move.
Is he doing a bomber line in order to inflict damage on his opponent for the attack of the monster?
Yeah. And that's the only way, actually. That's 7,500 damage.
That is the only way to win the game. No, you're correct. See? That is a small, quote-unquote, secret effect that a lot of people wouldn't have realized. And that's why
it's even crazier because you wouldn't think that it triggers. I mean, it triggers basically in the damage calculation. And it's not like an easy situation to spot. Ryan knows it because like he knows the ruling, but it's not an easy ruling to figure out on the spot, especially if you never use that. Probably Ryan like when you build a deck and then you decide like, okay, let me look at all the possible stupid rulings that I can find about this deck, because I actually do it. I look at the deck and I think about the most stupid interaction, the most stupid and complex sequence interactions, effects that they might come up maybe once every 1,000 games. And Ryan probably did that too, and it actually came up.
Yeah, and I'm a big advocate in that. You want to put yourself in uncomfortable situations outside the tournament. So in the tournament, you don't have to think about those lines and you could just know what you're going for. Like, Ryan really went for this line pretty quickly considering what the line was, and he's playing on feature. I think it's pretty impressive.
And now this is like 4,300 with the access code and 32 of Murakumo after crashing the ball. 7,500 damage.
Yeah.
I don't glaze people often, but this deserves a glaze.
This is a line I feel like he only knows because of how long he's been playing. He played back when Bomber came out. He probably played that in the Sky Striker deck a lot. That's one of my favorite cards just to like end on back in the day. It was one of the more relatively tame Link 4 end pieces that we had, but it's still such a good effect.
Yeah. Okay. I will